Here are photos of the children. My heart breaks for them. Thank you so much for helping us." That was an email I received from Judy, and attached were several pictures of two very loving and precocious little girls, dressed in matching black dresses with pink bows in their hair. In a few of the pictures, the small girls are seen clinging to two teenage boys, identified by Judy as their half-brothers. Judy sent me the pictures in order to put names to faces, and to remind me of what she and I were fighting for. I've looked back at those pictures of the girls, as Judy always affectionately calls them, several times since I began representing Judy in November of 2015. Judy came to the legal aid organization I work with on a pro bono basis, hoping to get visitation with her granddaughters. Judy's daughter had passed away after battling cancer, and Judy had had no contact with the girls since the day of the funeral. Not only was Judy desperate to stay in touch with her granddaughters for her own sake, but as the legal guardian of the girls' half-brothers, she wanted to maintain their connection to their half-siblings as well. Fortunately enough, there's a provision in the law that provides a mechanism for such non-parents to pursue visitation, and I believed that Judy met the requisite criteria. One complicating issue was that although we had identified the girl's presumed father, there was no legal paternity. No one had been listed on their birth certificates, and to the best of Judy's knowledge, no voluntary acknowledgement of paternity had been signed for either of her granddaughters. Thus, as part of our case, we also asked the court to adjudicate paternity. Little did I anticipate when that small hurdle arose, it would be just the first of many to come. The second obstacle in this case was service, finding and notifying the presumed dad about the case. Despite having a known address and being employed as a Cook County sheriff, it took nearly 6 months for him to be served after several attempts, one attempt even getting lost in the system, and ultimately paying for a private process server. As I was trying to track Dad down, a separate, ultimately relevant process was unfolding. It took a very observant court clerk for it to come to light that Dad had initiated his own paternity case regarding the girls. In the time it took for us to find and serve Dad, he had asked a separate court to declare him the legal father and sole custodian of both girls. Although this was a positive step, bringing Dad into the fold, it only served to further delay the underlying request for visitation. Anyone who's had to maneuver the maze that is consolidation of cases can attest to the inconvenience of that process. Consolidating the cases, however, did succeed in finally bringing Dad into our case. After Judy's daughter had passed away, she had been unsuccessful in her attempts to reach Dad, and through him, her granddaughters. My own attempts had likewise been unsuccessful. Thus, Judy and I were pleased to know that he was now participating in our case. That happiness was short-lived once we soon received Dad's response, alleging, among other things, that Judy was not, quote, a fit and proper person to have visitation with her grandchildren. Although we were unsuccessful in keeping the case going over his objections, Judy and I are still working toward establishing any sort of consistent visitation with her granddaughters. We've had to consistently battle against the court's belief that Judy doesn't qualify for the legal mechanism for this visitation. And further, despite negotiating with Dad to give Judy consistent telephone access to the girls, Dad has thus far refused to comply or respond to any of Judy's attempts to communicate. And thus the case continues. I've spoken with Judy so often throughout the past nearly 2 years that when we finally met in person in August, we hugged as if we were long-lost friends. In that time, she shared with me her successes, getting one of the boys off to college, and her heartbreaks, her husband unexpectedly passing away. However, she's always remained optimistic and incredibly gracious. After one particularly disappointing day in court on her matter, I returned to the CVLS office to find a small gift from Judy. Enclosed with that gift was a note. "God bless and keep you. Thanks for all of your help." That note stays at my desk so that I can see it every day and remember how wonderful and fulfilling it is to help someone who needs it.